Number 2 of that college football show, everybody. Look, we're going to wrap up SEC Media Days. We got some fun stuff to talk about tonight, season previews, and a no bull with Eltoro Freeman. All that's on the way. Let's go, man. Welcome in to the Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC studios. I am Jeremy Jeffcoat. Just call me JJ. Currently hosting Sports Blitz Live, as well as the AHSAA Radio Network Scoreboard Show, formerly of Southern Sports Tonight, and a contributor at SaturdayBlitz.com. He is former Auburn National Champion linebacker Eltoro Freeman. How you doing, big dog?
Doing good, Jay. How about yourself, man?
Doing great, man. I'm ready to talk a little football tonight. Episode 1 was a lot of fun. We want to thank everybody who tuned in and watched that. If you're just catching us for the first time here, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take but a couple of seconds of your time, and it helps us out a lot. If you enjoyed the conversation, feel free to leave a comment. Maybe you agree with us. Maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter, get in the conversation, man. Join in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Eltoro, SEC Media Days wrapped up last week. And I wrote about this at SaturdayBlitz.com this week. Nothing that happens at SEC Media Days is going to change a single win or loss this fall. But you can learn some stuff. You can learn a few things, right? And one of the things that I think we learned was that people have a tendency to overreact to some things that coaches say. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it seems to happen every year.
I tell you, John, I think I know what you're about to get at. I'm going to let you finish. I know what you're about to get at, man. I want to talk about.
Yeah, I want to start with just a short clip here. This is Florida head coach John Sumrall. And Sumrall was giving his presentation, doing his Q&A with the media, and some reporter's phone went off. And this was Sumrall's reaction.
You'd be kicked out of our team meeting. I swear, like, you're lucky I'm not going to throw this freaking podium right now. Like, drives me crazy. I would say, who is that? But I'm not going to embarrass anybody. But no.
Now, let me say this about John Sumrall. Anybody who's watched any of our talks about Florida, I'm a huge John Sumrall fan. He was the head coach at my university at Troy for a couple of years. I think he's one of the best young coaches out there. And yes, he is that intense. That is how he is all the time, Eltoro. He does not take a minute off. Now, I think it's pretty obvious to anyone in the room that he was joking. Everybody was laughing. He was making a joke, but the intensity, he doesn't lose that. That's just who the man is.
Jay, I absolutely loved it, man. I absolutely love it, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's that old school, hard nose, coaching and the mindset and mentality. That's the mentality, you know what I mean? And that's why, Florida is such a team that's going to surprise a lot of people, just from the type of energy and the mentality that he brings to that program. I am now, a John Sumrall fan. I mean, like, I loved it, Jay. I loved it. And I feel that if anyone was rubbed the wrong way, I just personally feel you just see how, how soft things are now. You know what I mean? It just really shows that now.
It was funny because nobody in the room thought twice about it, right? And it was only afterwards that people started posting on social media, oh, he's berating this reporter. I think Tom Crean, the former Georgia and Indiana basketball coach, had something to say about it. And he's like, I really hope he was joking. Sumrall came back on Twitter and said, yes, of course, I was joking, and it was a joke. But now he's an intense personality, man. And maybe his personality is a little bit too intense to do comedy. You know what I mean? But I'm with you. I thought it was great. And I thought all the hullabaloo about it on social media was really kind of much ado about nothing. It was nothing to be upset about on that.
I tell you what, Jay, you know, this is an intense game. You have to have that mentality. And I tell you this, Jay, every reporter from now on, they're going to make sure their phone is on do not disturb or silent before they enter the press room.
Exactly. All right, there was another moment involving another coach that really kind of caught my attention. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it was the reactions after that I had a little bit of an issue with, and I'm going to play it, and we're going to listen to it real quick, and then we'll discuss.
Kalen, do you think your time at Alabama will be defined by whether you win a national championship?
I certainly know that that's an important part of what's happened in the program. So I wouldn't doubt that if that's the case. I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on just helping our program be the best and trying to bring out the best and raise the level of everyone around me, from coaching staff to our players, trying to maximize what we're capable every single day.
All right, so that's Kalen Deboer, and he was asked, and the reporter there is Connor O'Gara, who's a really good sports writer, does some work with the Next Round guys, a show out of Birmingham. And O'Gara asked the question, do you think your time at Alabama will be defined by whether or not you win a national championship? All right, so the first thing that I thought when he asked the question, and I still think it is, well, of course. I mean, it's an irrelevant question. It's so, Alabama has statues of 5 coaches outside the stadium. Guess what all 5 coaches have? At least one national championship, right?
Right.
That's who they build statues to in Tuscaloosa. So he knew that before he even took the job. But you can't go out there and go, well, yes, it is. And I intend to win 3 of them. That's not because people who win championships, Eltoro, and I'm going to rant for a little bit, then we'll discuss. People who win championships don't walk around talking about winning championships. People who win championships are grinding every day to make their program, their team, their players, their coaches, to raise them to the level that they can compete and win a national championship, compete for and win a national championship. It's the same answer that Nick Saban would have given. Nick Saban, 18 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever it was, when he was introduced at Alabama, actually made the statement that everybody around here likes to talk a lot about winning national championships, but nobody wants to talk about the stuff you got to do every day, the little things you got to do every day to win a national championship. So I didn't think there was really anything wrong with the answer. And then I turn on ESPN, and there is Stephen A. Smith and Paul Feinbaum just ripping this guy a new one for the way he answered the question. First of all, Stephen A. Smith is a terrific NBA analyst. I don't think he could name 4 players on pick your random SEC team, Missouri, right? I don't think he could name 4 players on Missouri's team. He's not a college football guy. He's pretty decent with the NFL, and he's really good with the NBA. Paul Feinbaum couldn't tell you the difference between an X receiver and a Z. He just couldn't. But he made his career early on by dancing on the heads of coaches at Auburn and Alabama, dancing on Pat Dye's head towards the end of his career, dancing on Ray Perkins' head and Bill Curry's head. So Feinbaum and Smith, look, I understand their job is to draw attention and get clicks, but I don't know what they wanted the man to say. He acknowledged, yeah, that's sort of the standard around here. That's kind of the expectation around here. So I wouldn't doubt if that's the case. But that's not my concern. What I'm focused on is trying to get this team better every day in how we do things. Am I wrong? You tell me, man.
Jay, I got to disagree with you, Jay. And I'm going to tell you why, Jay. Nick Saban, it's been okay for Nick Saban to say that, because Nick Saban has not only Nick Saban has displayed championship level football. Okay, the concern once again with the boy is the team is living up to the standard, the Alabama standard of winning a championship. And from what I've seen under him, I haven't seen that mentality. I haven't seen that standard of play. So it was a great question, and it was a terrible response at Alabama. Someone else, somewhere else, totally understand. But the people, the fans, need to be reminded that, hey, our mission is not to just win football games. Our mission is to win championships. And Jay, I'm telling you, that's the same mentality that we talked about on episode 1 about his mentality of the dominance and winning championship at Alabama. It seems as if the players is now taking on that mentality of the board, and it's changing the culture. It's changing the culture. Your last game out, Jay, you just got beat 30-3, and you quit in the second half.
All right, let me
second
start. It was 38-3, by the way.
38-3. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was a 35-point loss. Let me say this. I will allow that Kalen Deboer is not a very magnetic personality. He's kind of the soccer dad next door. You know what I mean? He's not, Sumrall comes in and just completely takes over a room, right? And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's a little weird. Deboer is never going to be that kind of personality. But I do think there's something to be said for, look, instead of talking about winning a championship, let's just go to work, man. Let's get up this morning and let's do something that's going to make us better players and better coaches today. I do think there's something to be said for that mentality. I don't think it's completely kind of out of line. But I will say this, keep this in mind, Eltoro. Every national championship winning coach at Alabama has won the national championship in either year 3 or year 4. So 2 years. If Kalen Deboer can't get it done over the next 2 years, then he may not be the guy. You know what I mean?
let me ask you this, Jay.
Championship coaches won it in year 3 or year 4.
Let me ask you this. In year 3, in year 2, did you see the promise of Nick Saban?
Well, yeah,
Did you
they
feel
went
good about
12-2. They went 12-2 that year. They went
Correct.
undefeated in the regular season, lost to Florida in the SEC title game, and then lost a terrible bowl game.
Then that year 3,
That's
they
right.
won, correct?
That's right. But I would, and then in year 3 they won it. I
Then let me
would
ask you
say
this.
too.
Go ahead.
I would say that Deboer's coming off from 10-2 regular season playoff appearance, SEC championship game appearance. He lost the SEC championship game in his second year, just like Nick Saban did. I'm just saying, I think the jury's still out on this. I've said all along, I don't know. I think Kalen Deboer's an excellent coach. I don't know if he's the right coach at Alabama, but that's going to play out. But we're not going to know for a couple of years. I just think the media overreaction, right? Especially from Paul Feinbaum, when he knows what he's doing. I think it's just a little bit hyperventilating.
Jay, listen,
That makes sense.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think Deboer is a great coach. I think he's a great coach. But I'm not sure if he's a great coach at Alabama. Because just of the expectations and the standard, Jay, winning 10 games at Alabama is not enough, Jay. Winning 11 games, it's championship. And when you enter a program with the high expectations of that, you got to carry that demeanor to make the fans, the players to feel and believe that, this is what we after. We are not after okay or average or good. It's great at Alabama. You know what I mean? That's just where that's just the situation he's walked into, Jay. And what his makeup is just not giving promise of Alabama winning a national championship under his head coaching. Now I'm gonna ask you this question: how do you feel about Alabama under Kalen Deboer coaching to win a national championship in the next 2 years?
I will tell you this, and this is not going to give any names or anything, but before last season even started, I had someone that I know, and it had gotten word, and this is from inside the Alabama program. Okay, I'm talking about inside the building, and this was probably a year and a half ago. The offensive line's not going to be good because the offensive line coach is not good. Now, it was a year and a half ago, and I had to go back and refresh my memory. I'm like, wait a minute. They won the Joe Moore Award at Washington 2 years ago, but then I remembered when DeBoer came, Ryan Grubb came with him, and the offensive line coach, Scott Huff, came with him. Well, then Grubb gets the job in Seattle. Huff goes with him to coach the offensive line. Scott Huff is still in the NFL. He's coaching, I believe, tight ends now. He's not at Seattle anymore, though. I forget exactly where he is. But anyway, he's still in the NFL. So and this was 2 weeks after Deboer got there. So you're about to start spring practice. You don't have an offensive line coach. And the coach they hired was from Michigan State. Numbers weren't great at Michigan State, honestly. Had a reputation as a good recruiter. And then I believe, and I know most people do not follow position coaches. I get it. I don't either. But Adrian Clem, that they hired to coach the offensive line, I've followed him his whole career. I remember him as a player at Hawaii. He was a really good player. Played for June Jones at Hawaii. Played for Belichick. Won 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Coached for Mike Tomlin at Pittsburgh. Coached for Dan Lanning at Oregon. He's been a run game coordinator at 2 different stops. So I think one of the problems of having a detailed and physical offensive line took a major step forward on the day he was hired, before he ever set foot in the campus, because I think he's that good of a coach. So the reason I'm encouraged with Deboer is because he didn't let it fester. He addressed it, right? It's a problem, and we're gonna make changes. Change the tight end coach, change the offensive line coach, and both of the new guys have been run game coordinators at other places and offensive line coaches at other places. Went and got 6 offensive linemen out of the transfer portal. So they addressed it personnel-wise. And, I mean, you know this, body style matters in certain offenses. Caden Proctor, good player, really good, 12th overall draft pick, right? But he's 365 pounds. Wilkin Formby, that started at right tackle, and then they moved him down to right guard, 345, 350 pounds. Watching him pull from right guard around left end was painful. It was painful. So now if you look at the guys, and Formby now is at Texas A&M. He hit the portal, went to Texas A&M. So if you look at the guys now that they're going to be starting on the offensive line, it's 320, 315, 318, 325. It's not the 350-pound earth movers anymore.
A little bit more.
And that allows that wide zone stuff that they like to run. Mm-hmm. You can get those guys around the corner and downfield, right? Better than you could before. Like I said, I'm hopeful. I'm not sold yet, but I'm hopeful that you're going to see a more effective running game. They're never going to run for 200 yards a game. That's not what the offense is. They want to throw for about 320 and run for about 140. You know what I mean? That's just what they do. And so we'll see how they do. I just thought the reaction to what he said was just, and some of it's just personality, man. Like you said, he does not have a hard charging personality like a Saban or a Sumrall. And he's, frankly, can be a bit boring, but it's okay because his job isn't to entertain me. His job is to win football games. We're going to see how that goes.
And it definitely be, just finish up on him, Jay. It definitely be okay, in my opinion, just when we start seeing more of the Bama standard, the physicality, you know what I mean? Just bringing the dumbness back. And if people want to carry out that personality, but that is displayed on Saturday, that's perfectly fine. But until then, his personality is going to be in question if he can lead this program back to the promised land. And again, that's the national championship, Jay.
I totally agree, because I think the lack of physicality, especially on the offensive line last year, if that doesn't get fixed, then that narrative's just going to grow, and it's going to get more intense. All right, one more thing from media days, and this is so interesting, Eltoro. I'm going to bring this up. This is the SEC Media Days media poll that was released at the end of the week. I'll be honest with you, I thought forever that Texas was going to be the media's pick to win the conference. There were more Texas reporters down there than any other school. I think most people agree that follow the game that they have the most complete roster in college football. And then Georgia comes out at number 1. And we'll take another look at the poll, but I'll just read them down. Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida comes in at 9, Missouri at 10, South Carolina 11, your Auburn Tigers, Eltoro, at 12, Vandy down at 13, Kentucky at 14, Mississippi State at 15, and Arkansas at 16. So that's how the media views the standings. What'd you think?
Well, Jay, I think the big surprise team on that list will be Florida. I also think that the team that's probably ranked too high because I'm just not sure of the defense, and I think that's the Ole Miss. I'm not sold on their defense. I think if they can get their defense together, it would give them a chance. But I just don't. I think it's just be hard to win games just in shootouts after shootout after shootout. You know what I mean? Especially winning a championship. I think the team once again that ranked too low is Texas A&M. I think they really got a strong shot at doing some major things. With their defense and the quarterback, things of that nature. And man, I tell you, and I mean when you go down there and play, at their home field and that 12-man stadium. I mean, it's just it's a difference. It's a different type of deal. You know what I mean? And so the easiest path I feel that has for schedule wise, they have a chance for to go to the national championship or just the playoff will be Georgia. I think they have the easiest path. And then I think the dark horse is going to be pretty much the Tennessee Volunteers, man. I think a lot of guys, a lot of people are overlooking, what they have, Jay.
I don't disagree with you on Tennessee. They get four starters back on the offensive line. And Heupel likes to run the ball. And when they're going to have either a true freshman or a redshirt freshman quarterback, but Heupel never has bad quarterback play, right? Sometimes it's better than others, but it's never bad. And he's going to run the ball a lot. So, I think with that offensive line helping the young quarterback out, Jim Knowles coming over to coordinate the defense, and they'll be better because last year they were as bad a tackling team as you saw. I've sort of been sleeping on Tennessee all summer, but the last week or so I've been like, why am I sleeping on Tennessee so hard? I don't know. I will say this though. You think about this. Why is Texas not the number one pick? And it's because they've got Arch Manning, they've got Rasheem Biles on the defensive side. They went out the portal and got. You've got Hollywood Smothers in there, and you've got all of these, the Cam Coleman, all of these fantastic players, offensive linemen too that they brought in, and they're still behind Georgia. And I have a theory, and here we go. Steve Sarkisian has a Kirby Smart problem. They've played each other 3 times since Texas came to the league, Eltoro, 3 times. Georgia's won all 3, and only one of them was close. It was the SEC championship 2 years ago. Georgia wins that one in overtime, 22-19. Steve Sarkisian, offensive genius, play calling wizard, in 3 games against Georgia, averages 14.7 points a game. And I think the media just looked at it and said, yeah, Texas roster is really, really good. And they got Will Muschamp over there now, but I just don't think Sark can beat Kirby when it comes down to nut cutting time.
I agree with you 100%, Jay. I was thinking the same thing. I agree with you 100%, man. And I'll tell you what, in that Texas, just from what's been happening, under Steve Sarkisian, they just lose a game that they're supposed to lose, Jay.
Yeah.
They just will, man.
I mean, that loss to Florida last year was just pathetic. I mean, that's a 4-8.
I mean, really. So yeah, Jay, I agree with that 100%, man. And I also agree with the polls as far as having Georgia ahead of them, and I can see why Texas is at number 2.
When we get to our prediction time, I don't know this yet because I want to think about it a little more. But man, I'm thinking Georgia might have a team that can get Kirby that 3rd ring. They just might have it this year. But
why do you say that, Jay?
Because they return 14 starters. They return a massive amount of experience on the offensive line and the defense. And that's what's winning titles today, man. Offensive line and defense. That's what's winning titles. Look at Ohio State, Indiana, any metric you want to look at. These are the guys that are winning national titles, and they bring back so much. They have the best center in the league. The offensive line, if it's not the best in the league, is going to be right up there. And then the defense is going to be very experienced. Do they have a strong enough pass rush is a question that I have. And can Gunnar Stockton stretch the field at all? Because last year it was a lot of screen passes, right? If Gunnar Stockton can stretch the field, I mean, their running game is going to be incredible. That running game is going to be great. The defense should be fine. They're going to have to, get after the quarterback pretty good. but yeah, it is the kind of team that Kirby likes, man. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play defense. Quarterback's going to take care of the ball, and we're just going to beat you. You know,
That's what that Jay. That's what I was looking for, Jay. Their physical play.
Yeah.
Their consistent physical play, aggressive, like like this, it's gonna be hard nosed. Kirby is hard nosed. Like that physical play is gonna give them an edge over a lot of opponents.
and does. And I think that's been their edge against Texas. I think it's part of the
Absolutely.
reason that Texas hired Will Muschamp was to get some of that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.